Hey everyone, as of the last mix I now have 20 entries into each of the 3 series that I run, meaning I've been at this channel for 5 years now. I thought it'd be fun to make a little tier list showing my personal preferences on my own mixes as a sort of celebration. This is very unscripted, so let's just dive right in. So first of all, I'm not going to release a mix that I think is just bad. So all of these are going to be kind of skewed a bit further upward than I guess would be normal. S tier would be like, I listen to this constantly. If I'm going somewhere in my car, this is what I put on. A tier would be the good stuff. High quality, but not necessarily in my constant rotation. B tier would be, it's good, but there's some flaws in it that kind of keeps it a little lower on the list for me. C tier would be the average stuff. Not good, not bad, just a little in the middle. D is the stuff I wish I could have done a little bit better, but not terrible. F is, there's only one thing in there, and that's a half-finished idea that I came up with for the artist feature 6, Stefan Pike, I think is how you pronounce it. I tried to do a second mix with all of his more dancey tunes, and it just did not come out. That would be the only F tier. In fact, I'll go ahead and put that there. Alright, so let's start out. First one, Rave 2612. I am extremely happy with this. I don't think I could have had a better start to the channel. It's constant rotation in my car, S tier. Fun fact, I actually was confused about the specifications of the Genesis when I made this, but I thought channel 6 and the DAC were different, but it turns out it's the same channel, just different modes. But luckily it also turns out I stayed within the specifications anyway. Alright, so I wasn't sure what to call the extended series, so I just went with ++, because I mean it worked for Notepad and C. So GST++ mix number 1 I'm also super happy with. Had a lot of fun with it, and I think it shows, and it's just fun to listen to, so it also gets constant rotation in my car despite being basically one of my first mixes. S tier. The artist features I don't really want to put on the tier list because they're kind of their own thing, but this one is kind of an oddball. I usually try to focus on people I can reach out to, but Hiroki Kikuta was like the reason that I had the idea to do the artist features, so I kind of wanted to start with him. He did end up actually seeing this and retweeting it, so that was a pretty neat start to the channel. Looking back, I think the tempo is just really wonky and all over the place, something I try to avoid now, but it's not too bad either. 4-Op Rock, I'm really happy with how this started out, but I feel like it kind of deteriorates over the mix. It's one of my girlfriend's favorites, but mine, I just kind of see the flaws. It's one of those kind of cases. It's not bad though. I think I'd give it a B tier. Mega Amp Metal, I think the interplay between FM guitars and just regular distorted guitars was really, really good, and overall I'm quite happy with how this one came out. The only flaw I can think of is I used a free VST that I grabbed in like 2007 or something for the guitar amp on one of the sections, and just ran the Genesis sound through that. It sounds kind of cheap. I kind of wish I had a better amp for that one, but it doesn't bother me too much. Overall, it still works. It's the good stuff. Artist feature 2, Tim Follin. If Hiroki Kikuta was my inspiration to start the artist feature series, then Tim Follin might be a bit more fundamental. He gave me a huge love of chiptunes when I discovered his Bionic Commando C64 tune. Or maybe more specifically, a huge love of ARPs. I do think this one has a sort of flaw of wonky tempo shifts, but I still think it's pretty solid and one of my most popular videos. I do wish I had slowed down the text a bit though. You can tell it's an early video. Funk modulation. FM bass is just the funkiest bass sound you can have. And I love all the songs in here, but I think it could have been blended just a little better. I don't know, it has that sort of scatterbrained approach that happens sometimes. That said, I still love this a lot. Nice bass lines. Sometimes when I make a mix, there's one large section where everything just flows together and I love it for that. And the hydrosity zone in here is that for me. This is an A tier. Artist feature 3, Jesper Kid. With the previous two, it was either a person that I couldn't talk to because of a language barrier or somebody who's just not online. This is the first one where I was able to actually talk to the person, although it was kind of through a agent or a secretary or somebody. I can't remember, it's been a while. It was a very interesting experience though, and I'm extremely happy with how this one came out. It's one of the features that I listen to pretty regularly, especially because I have a lot of 20-minute drives. It's good stuff. It'd be S tier if it were something I were ranking. Feelin' Jazzy. I always remember this as a mix that I've just hated. But then I listened to it and I'm like, wait, this is actually pretty good, goofy, silly, fun. Don't know why that is. It's probably because I was fairly unhappy with that transition at, I think it was 5.5 minutes in. Yeah, that's my main impression from this one. I'm gonna put it on the D tier. Check this vibe. This one also feels kind of poisoned from the previous one, but every time I listen to it, I'm like, oh wait, this is actually pretty good. That said, it does feel like I was kind of like trying to make up for the last one. So it's, I don't know, it's this weird space in my brain. But I'm actually quite a bit happier with how this one turned out. But not enough to get above a C, I think. Artist feature number 4, Jeff Van Dyke. Okay, fun fact for this one. I tried reaching out before making this video, but didn't get a response until after I hit published, and at which point he told me, hey, the first song rendered wrong. So I think this is the only video I've had to re-upload because of a bad render. Relaxed Waters. I love this one and I love how it came out, and I don't know what word to even say about it. It's good. A tier. Luminescent Elixir. This is a big favorite of mine. It's like the perfect nighttime music to listen to. It's one of those constant rotation things for me, especially because I end up driving a lot at night, especially in the winter. S tier. There was this post or tweet or something going around that says a lot of artists hate their work because it looks like them or looks like something they would do. And that's what the title card for this is for me. That said, I don't think it's bad. I just think I don't like myself or don't like my own output sometimes. But artist feature number 5, Matt Furness. Pretty happy with this all around, despite the title card thing. I was able to get in contact with Matt for this one, which was a lot of fun. He even follows me on Twitter and seems to enjoy my channel. If you're watching this, hey Matt. New 3D Bosa simulation. I really like this genre, especially in video games and other limited chipsets. I think that the mixing on this one is a little rough at spots, but still pretty good. Like, I'd call this a favorite despite its flaws, and I guess that makes it a B tier. Yeah, we'll go with that. Night Drive, not to be confused with Mega Drive. This one I'm very happy with. It's one of those, I've got an idea. I'm gonna blend a whole bunch of remixes together. And it worked, and I was proud of it then, and I'm still proud of it today. That said, as I'm recording this, I keep wanting to call it Sonic Crackers, but I know that's not the actual game, that was the beta. Hold on, let me pause and look it up. Knuckles Chaotix. Anyway, this mix is, I think, the first time I had a song appear in 2 different mixes. This was not intended, it just kind of worked out that way. Artist feature 6, Stefan Pike. I didn't even try to reach out to this guy because he seemed impossible to get in touch with, and also French. I had known about this guy's music for a while through like an old friend's childhood game that was kind of weird but had some banger music. So since I had an excuse to explore his stuff, I was pretty excited to do that, and I think it came out pretty nicely. It's a very unique vibe this mix has. An Orchestra for Your Battle. This one was pretty fun to make. I don't really like orchestral music, but sometimes it's fun, and I think the fact this is all written for Sega Genesis means you have to crank up that orchestra feeling to remind people that they're not listening to a synth, they're listening to an orchestra. And it worked in the favor of battle music, I think. So this was a fun one to make. Safety and Peace. The name for this one was actually inspired by somebody on Tumblr who, every time she sees a post with like a cute puppy or something, she'll reblog it and tag it as Safety and Peace. And I thought that was just fitting somehow. I do kind of wish that the blending in the intro of this mix was better, but it's just a huge collection of songs I really like, and I think I did a decent enough job blending it together. So combine the two, and it's kind of something I listen to pretty often. S tier. Artist feature number 7, Frank Kaplacki. I've loved this guy's work for years and years and years. Before I even had an MP3 collection, I would just listen to all of the demos he had on his website, and I think I actually went over his bandwidth limit one day because it was down for the rest of the month. Sorry about that. Getting to explore this guy's stuff was really, really fun. And the mix as a whole became a big favorite of mine. It would be S tier if I were putting it in the rank list. I love his work so much, and it was a great fun getting to talk to him too. We kind of hit it off a bit. I was kind of surprised that some of the more prog stuff that he listened to, very cinematic parallels except with musical taste, although it kind of makes sense because he did inspire me so much as a kid. Free shot. I had a big plan for my final Genesis mix, but had to put it off because it was taking me a while to get through all the SNES stuff to start that series. So I kind of just hobbled this together with a bunch of Genesis tunes that I liked and then some sort of undripped stuff as well. It's okay. It's very C tier. Something I never really got a chance to explore though was the spooky dooky kind of sounds you can get from FM synthesis. So I just kind of went wild with that on Bad Trip, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. I even used a custom VST on this one to get some like distortion effects on the intro and outro. It's not actually a low pass filter, it's like a FM bit crusher kind of thing that I made. I don't know how to describe it. I'm happy with how it turned out though. Artist Feature 8, Spencer Nielsen. This guy's kind of infamous for changing the Sonic CD soundtrack, but made some bangers, so I mean, why not? From researching this, I found his album Architects of Change, and I'm surprised that there's not more of this, because that's a banger album. It's also an album I would not have found if I were not doing research for this video, which is another reason I love working on this series. Blast prog. There are two styles of music that I love more than anything else, and that is the most pedestrian, four-on-the-floor dance music you can think of, and the most obtuse 23-on-the-floor prog nonsense. I started out the Genesis mix series with the dance stuff, and I wanted to end it with the prog stuff. And I am very, very happy with how this prog stuff came out. I had a lot of fun building a little program that counts the music as it goes along, although it was kind of a pain to sync it up because my video editing process is kind of a mess. But dang, I love this mix a lot. Prog life. You may have noticed this trend of four letters. This is a reference to the title scheme of Zanzan Zawavia, who makes these fun proggy chiptunes, although it's more harmonic than beat-driven, I think. I'd have to listen again to confirm that one. He's a very cool guy, he's been around a long time. I wanted to give a little tribute somehow. Prog life in particular, this mix had an odd thing where I miscounted. I thought something was like in 5, but swung. But then I had somebody actually check it, and it's definitely in 7. So that was some weird metric modulation going on in there. It totally works though. Artist Feature 9, Mark Miller. If I was ending the Genesis Mix series, I wanted to go out with something significant, and what more than the guy who was on the development tool that the entire country seemed to use. I was able to talk with him, and it was pretty interesting. It turns out that he's doing like this, I don't think country is the right word, but it's very folksy and not video gamey at all. I kind of wish I could incorporate that to the mix, but oh well. He seemed very chill about it though. In Deep. For starting out the Super Nintendo era of my channel, I wanted to show off what you could do on the Super Nintendo that the Genesis simply could not do. And I think the most archetype way to show that would be lush chord samples that you just can't get on the DAC on the Genesis. I really, really like how this one came out. It's almost a case of like the limitations of the SNES don't even matter for the music here. It's good. Outer Orbit. I kind of wish I had spent more time on the title card here, but it's literally the last thing I do when I'm making a video, so I guess I can't fault myself for running out of time. The mix itself, though, I still think it's pretty good, but not as good as In Deep somehow. Like, you would think that if I had no restrictions, then the mix is just going to be better, but that's not always the case. I also think it kind of isn't as good as the equivalent Genesis version, the YM House, but it's not bad at all. Continuing with the theme of showing off what the SNES can do for my first couple of videos, we got Artist Feature 10 with Dean Evans. This seemed like the obvious choice to me because Waterworld, but then I learned that he also did some adult film, and that was kind of a weird discovery. Didn't include it in the mix, but I definitely thought about it. Dance Floor Boss. Remember when I said that dance junk is like one of my favorite genres of music? Well, it was time to indulge. This one's kind of all over the place, but I had fun. Are you ready? But the letters are in you. So when listening to all the SNES music, I know my rave stabs. I can hear a 2 unlimited or an awesome 3 around there, and I wanted to show that off a little bit. Especially with the somewhat controversial 2 unlimited. I say that because at the time there was quite a few people that just hated that. I do think it's cheesy, but cheesy can be fun. Artist feature 11, Barry Leach. Sometimes I cannot reach the artist that I'm trying to get to, like with Dean Evans. He just doesn't seem to be online anymore, or whatever. So I'll reach somebody that I knew worked with him. And that was Barry, and he was very kind and eager to answer any questions I had. So I thought, you know what? He gets a feature next. And it was quite a deep dive and plenty of information. I got a few soundtracks that basically don't exist anymore, which I was happy to show off. This is the only time so far that I've actually had somebody voice act the intro, because this is straight up lifted from one of the conversations we had. It was too funny not to include. Acid on SNES. Something that surprised me when listening to all the SNES music out there was the number of people that actually sampled Acid, like TB303, on the SNES. I love TB303. So I had to indulge just a little bit more, get another video with the dance junk. SPC 303. This was the equivalent, but sometimes I added my own Acid because there's some soundtracks where you could sequence it on a TB303 and it would sound perfect. So that's kind of what I did. I think I used a VB303 for the entire thing on this one. Honestly, I think it came out kind of rough, but also I like Acid a lot, so I tend to jump to it anyway. It's kind of a weird one. Artist feature 12, Jonathan Dunn. This was a trip. From RoboCop to that weird commercial to he's a house musician now. Yeah, this was fun to explore. I think this is one that kicked off because I learned he was a house musician, but already knew about Dilbert 3. Just a weird one. But also I love the metric modulation I pulled off. That just sort of happened by accident, but God, I love that stuff. Bars and casinos. I don't really have much to say about this other than finally a break from the dance nonsense. I think it came out way better than the Genesis equivalent, but also I think it's kind of an average mix. Not good, not great. Just in the middle. 251 Drink Minimum. The title is actually a joke comment somebody left, I think, during the premiere of the last mix, which I love so much I had to steal it. This mix was a lot of fun to show off the various arrangement albums and stuff that I came across. I particularly like the Chrono Trigger one and have for a long time, so I was excited to get that in a mix. Artist feature 13, Your Own Tell. This was a lot. I already knew this guy has been active forever and prolific the entire time, but I've loved his stuff for a long time and wanted to show it off. I was able to get in contact with him and we were going at it for a while. He's a very cool dude. Peaceful Morning in the Hero's Hometown. That's a fun trope. It's one of the, I guess it kind of goes away from orchestral, but one of the types of orchestral music I like is exactly this, like the kind of peaceful, serene, a little bit of major seventh just for some flavor, but not much. It's good stuff, and I think it works particularly well on the SNES, so this one came together quite well. However, it was bested, although not superannuated, by the next one. Waking Up Late to Save the World, the other fun RPG trope. The ability to include an actual orchestra elevated this just to the top, in my opinion. It's one of the best things I've made, I think. Artist feature 14, Nathan McCree. Wow, whoever did Skeleton Crew has to be amazing. And then I look into it and it's like, wait, he did Tomb Raider too? It's very, I was surprised. He was very open to talking to me as well, which I appreciated a lot. This is a case where I ran the final video by him, and he's like, why are you using a mono version of this song? Well, it's because it's the only version publicly available, so he sent me the stereo version of the Water Lilies song, which I really love it when that sort of thing happens. I do recommend you check out the interview that I posted on the description of that video if you haven't already. I've been thinking about recording it myself just as a video because it's good. I'm happy with how that one turned out. My Amp is Bitrate Reduced. Kind of a cumbersome title, but nonetheless. Something the SNES is known for is its kind of butt rock sound. I really wanted to make a mix showcasing that, but also it's still kind of... Okay, it's known for that, but it's not necessarily a good thing, I guess. So as a result, this mix kind of ended up in the middle of the road, if you ask me. Same for the extended version as well, Super Power Chord. Although that was a little more fun because actual distorted guitars got thrown in too. I worked so hard to get that Beatles reference in key and like in timbre. I still think it's kind of rough, but please appreciate it. Thank you. Artist Feature 15, Yuzo Koshiro. This guy is historied, but luckily he's also been interviewed a lot. I had a few questions for him that nobody else seems to have asked, but when I reached out, he just didn't reply, never did, so that kind of sucks. That said, I think this feature came out super well, and it's currently the second longest one on the channel, and I think it might be the longest one by mix runtime alone. Or maybe not, that was Neuron Tales again. But he's history too, so what can I say? Assorted random encounters. Remember earlier when I said my favorite type of orchestral music is the like boss fighting nonsense? Turns out the SNES also does that super well. This whole thing came together amazingly in my opinion. It's one of my favorites and easily an S tier. Bound by the Strings of Fate. This one kind of one-ups that boss orchestral nonsense by throwing in some prog thanks to Dancing Mad. In fact, the entire song was structured around Dancing Mad. I had a lot of fun putting this together, although I think like towards the end it kind of loosens up a bit because I want to throw in a few oddballs. Probably could have gone without that, but it's still one of those songs I reach for pretty quickly if I want to hop in the car. It makes your drive feel like it's the fate of the world. Fun fact, I could not for the life of me think of what to call this title, so I helped brainstorm in the Patreon channel and the Discord. So if you want to help me brainstorm stuff like this, you should join Patreon and chat with me in the Discord. Artist Feature 16, David Wise. This is an unfortunate case where I reached out and he said, yeah, I'll answer your questions, and then everything after that became like errored out, so it looks to him like I just ghosted him or something. That kind of sucks. But despite that, I was able to do quite a bit of research on this, and I'm happy with how the video turned out, and I think the mix is one of the best artist features, like flow-wise. So it actually gets a regular rotation in my car as well, but still not ranking it because artist features are their own beast. A Touch of Funk. Yeah, I don't know what to say about this one. It's kind of all over the place, but it's also funky, which I dig. I'd call it average, honestly. Slap and bass lines. Alright, so in the last premiere, somebody in the chat made a joke about Seinfeld slap bass or something or other, and I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna roll with that. So I deliberately added a bunch of like quotes and hidden references to Seinfeld until the drop, which was I've been doing these music composition contests lately, and just on my on the side, not related to this channel or anything. Protodome has also been doing this, and he decided to just kick everybody's ass with this like silly but funky thing, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna include it. It just seems like the perfect drop for this sort of joke. And I'm actually pretty happy with how this turned out. It's very hype, very funk, and it gets a lot of playtime in my car. Artist Feature 17, Rob Hubbard. If you ask a lot of old school chip musicians what their inspiration's for, they're probably going to name this guy, especially if they wrote anything on the C64. You would think then that his artist feature would just be unbelievably long, but he actually dropped out of the game industry pretty soon, and I get the impression he's not easy to access, but I was able to get somebody who's basically writing the book on Rob Hubbard, and he helped a lot with the research on this. So Chris Abbott, if you're watching, thanks for all your help. Lakes and menus. This is something where I think the best title convention I can use is something like X and Y that just sort of encompass the location of the music you're going to hear in the mix. In practice, this is very hard to accomplish because, well, genres could be anything and anywhere. But Lakes and Menus is a pretty good, consistent vibe and one of my favorites. So this actually became a huge favorite mix of mine because the SNES just pulls off this clean sound so perfectly. It's S tier for me. Slots and Mahjong is kind of the same thing. Somehow it's a little bit weaker for me, so it doesn't get quite as much playtime in my car, but I'm still very happy with how this one turned out. I have no idea how to play Mahjong though, so every time you see Mahjong and it's actually my recording, sorry if you know how Mahjong actually works. Artist Feature 18, Patrick Fellon. This guy wrote some like really cool like dance tunes that appeared in like my earliest mixes, so I kind of wanted to look through what else he's done. I was not able to get in contact with him, but I was able to get in contact with somebody he worked with a lot and learn some weird stuff that way. I'm hoping to put into a video, but basically the tools at Gremlin Graphics were kind of whack. Hopefully you'll see a whole video on that soon enough, but we'll see. SNES Jack Swing. I had a request for a new Jack Swing mix for, I think it's been sitting there for like years at this point, and I decided, you know, that's a good idea. And finally I actually put it together, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I think it could have been a little bit better, but there's this constant feeling of, but can I make it swingier and jackier and newer? Really, I think I pulled it off, but it's kind of overshadowed by its successor, so to speak. Maximum 90s Cool. I did a lot of like intermingling of each song in here, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. It gets a lot of playtime in my car. The only thing here I'm not quite happy with is the title card, which is a common theme, so I don't fret about it too much, but like throwing in that Shinobi bass, I'm happy with it. Artist featured 19, Rick Fox. This guy had a short career, and I wanted to do Neil Biggin this month, but scheduling conflicts happened and I couldn't get it out in time. So I thought, all right, Rick Fox is probably going to be quick, so I'll just do that. Tried to get in contact with him, but couldn't. At least he never replied to my contact request. This is the first time I actually got a custom art done for the title card, which I think came out pretty cute. Thanks, Yepperoni, for the art there. Cute tunes in 16 bits. Alright, fun fact, for this one I tried to mash up a Kirby and Yoshi tune, but there are no free channels on that Kirby tune. And I'm trying to stay within SNES limitations, so I had to do this weird chopping thing to get everything to fit. Kirby music is something else. Cute Warrior Space Adventure. I am not happy with this title card or this title, but I'm quite happy with how the mix turned out. It's like this nice mix of silly and energetic. I kind of wish I could come up with a better idea for the third act. The sort of like laid-back goofiness or whatever, but I think it works well enough. Artist feature 20, Neil Biggin. This is another case where I couldn't get in contact with Patrick Fellon, but Neil was available and he was very happy to answer my questions. We ended up talking quite a lot. It turns out we have some like similar philosophies about music, so we had a lot of back and forth, and he was very eager to answer all my ridiculous number of questions about his own history. So as a result, I think this came together really well. He said he would digitize some tapes for me, but he was only able to get this one track, but it turned out to be really like symbolic of the work he was doing at the time, because it actually got on the radio, which is kind of like the peak of what he was trying to do at the time anyway, before the game industry struck. So a real cool guy. Neil, if you're watching this video, thanks for taking all that time to answer my bajillion questions that never seem to stop. I do appreciate it. And there's actually more. I've made a few mixes that I didn't finish, or whatever the case may be, and those are kind of Patreon exclusive for now. So first we got I decided it would be fun to make little mixes of each year of the demo scene, of which I only made 2. So Club Demo Scene 1992. It's pretty much non-stop rave nonsense. It's alright, I don't really have much to say about it. Club Demo Scene 93 is it's a little bit stronger. Had fun recreating that last tune in there. I think I'd put that one in the B tier, honestly. And then I thought it'd be fun to create a series of Jet Set Radio mixes, where they would start and end with a song from Jet Set Radio, and then I would just sort of piece together similar styles in the middle. Those were a lot of fun to make, and most of them are a lot of fun to listen to. So first we got Jet Set Radio mix at 100 beats per minute, which starts with Moody's Shuffle. It's very scratch focused, and I really like turntablism. It's just a fun genre, and this entire mix kind of encapsulates that fun, and I listen to it very often when I'm driving around. It gets the S tier easily. Jet Set Radio mix 110 starts with That's Enough, and I don't know what the genre is called, but it's like Ace Skills and Crafty Cuts and all them. It's super bouncy and energetic, and one of my favorites. Also gets a lot of playtime in my car. S tier easily. Jet Set Radio mix 130 starts off with Like It, Like This, Like That. It goes into this more like big beat, Fatboy Slim kind of stuff, which is pretty fun but not quite as strong all around. I think it's the only mix that I put my own music into, but I don't know. I'll call it B tier. Jet Set Radio Mix 140 starts off with Let Mom Sleep, and it goes into this really crazy, energetic thing. I don't know if you could pin it to a single genre, but it's probably still big beat. But the energy is off the scale. Really good stuff. However, it feels incomplete. I kind of want to revisit it, but I still listen to it regularly. I'm going to give it an A tier because it's kind of in the middle of those two tiers there. Honestly, I don't think any of these are ever going to make it to YouTube because the selection of music ranges from my own stuff, which no copyright problems there, to Fatboy Slim, where I think if I say his name, I'm going to get a copyright strike on this video. So if you want to check him out, Patreon's the best way to go. Link in the description, and maybe I'll have a card or something. I don't know. I'm going to make a playlist of all the S tier stuff, so if you want to just listen to those, check it out here. Now, the usual in-card stuff, we got our recommended video, a Patreon for where you can support me and hear those secret mixes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't, which I'll be surprised because who would want to watch this otherwise? And that's all for today. Thank you for listening. See you next mix.